Last year the Raiders went 8-8, and that was a surprise to me because it felt like a much worse season. And the past 2 seasons they have been 6-4. They have started out 6-4, and then they have lost their next stretch of games and ultimately missed the playoffs in 2019. I said they're going to make the playoffs at 6-4. They missed it. The very next year, they were 6-4 again. And I said, you know what? I'm not falling for it this time. They will miss it. And they did. But this year is New Year, right? Even though they lost Gabe Jackson and Trent Brown and Rodney Hudson, maybe they turn it around. Maybe you're optimistic. They got Yannick Ngakoue. They picked up John Brown. Brian Edwards supposedly is a good receiver. He's shown flashes in college. He was pretty good. Darren Waller, we know, is one of the top tight ends in the NFL. You have him over George Kittle.
I do.
And they have been saying Alex Leatherwood, who a lot of people said they reached for on draft night, has looked pretty good. Despite all that, I have them at 6-11 next season. I don't have much faith in the Raiders. I don't have much faith in John Gruden. And I think it's a shame because I think Derek Carr is one of the most, if not the most underrated quarterback in the NFL today. He's a top 12, top 13 quarterback in the league. And the fact that his football life is getting wasted by a team who can't build a solid defense hurts me. And Gus Bradley is a new DC. And I'm not sold on Gus Bradley. He couldn't get it done with the Chargers. He had a bad defense with the Chargers. The cover 3 scheme is outdated. Because of that, I don't have much faith in their defense. If they have a bottom 20 defense once again, I don't see them doing much.
Listen, I got them at 4-13. I don't think they're going to be that good. You know, granted, Derek Carr is a good quarterback. They have a lot of youth on the team that they'll be able to develop this year, and hopefully, you know, work and see what they got. Henry Ruggs, he kind of struggled last year with injuries and just playing on the field. Hopefully, he can have a better year too. But this team isn't good. Not to mention that the AFC is getting better. You know, you got Miami, you got the Patriots, you got the Buffalo in that division. Then you got in your own division, I predicted 6 losses: Denver, Chiefs, Chargers. Then you got Pittsburgh, Baltimore, Cleveland in that division. Like, the AFC is just completely getting better, and the Raiders have seemed to digress as the seasons go along. So I think
regress.
Sorry, my guy.
Got you.
Wait, so 6 losses in the division. They don't win 1 game in that division?
No.
They don't beat Denver?
No.
Can you respect us? I will also be real. They're probably going to beat us once.
I don't think so.
I think they will get 1 to 3 wins in the division.
I think they might get 2 because I think that they could split with the Chargers.
I think Chargers is going to sweep them. Denver's going to sweep them. The Chiefs. I know the Chiefs are going to sweep them.
Okay,
like,
I agree with that.
But I think the other 2 will sweep them too. I just don't think they're that good. Like, they have Derek Carr.
Look at it like that.
They have Darren Waller. And
no, they said that they're gonna lose. They're not gonna win 1.
Hey, listen,
crazy.
I respect the bold take.
I don't know when that's ever happened though.
No, teams have gone 6-0 in the division.
0-6.
Yeah, 0-6. That's what I mean. Oh wait, that's different. That's different. I don't know about that. You're right. I don't know if teams have gone 0-6.
Let me see.
Obviously,
the Browns. You don't have to see that. That's
the Browns,
a long research.
Browns went 0-16. Lions went 0-16, so there's 2 right there.
Okay, yeah. I guess.
So regardless of that, so I have them at 7-10. I think they're going to be a little bit better than what you say, a game better than what you say, so it's not that big of a difference. I say that because they still have some decent weapons offensively. Josh Jacobs, a solid running back. It's unfortunate that he's been put into a situation now where the Raiders have lost 3 of their starting O-linemen from last season, lost Trent Brown, lost Gabe Jackson, lost Rodney Hudson, and it's all players that they could have kept on their squad for sure, but they just, for some reason, said, we don't want an O-line going into this next season. And that's why I have them not being as good as last year. I contemplated giving them a few less wins, but you know, you bring in Yannick Ngakoue. Casey Hayward is a very good corner. I like the draft pick of Trayvon Morig. They have Jonathan Abram, who's a hard-hitting safety. I just think he needs to be a little bit better in coverage for me to really be all in on him. But his game is one of the more intense defensively. And then I look at Darren Waller. Obviously, I'm super high on him. He led the league in receptions for tight end. He has the franchise record for most receptions in a season for Vegas. I think he had 105, something around that, over 1,000.
Vegas, Oakland history.
Yep. Vegas, Oakland history. He has the most receptions for a tight end ever. Then you go, and he has over 1,000 yards the last 2 seasons. He's a touchdown machine. Now, for me, the biggest guy is going to be Henry Ruggs. He was drafted over Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, Claypool, all these guys that obviously were better than him last season. But he's the fastest out of all those guys. He's a burner. That's his game. He put on 20 pounds of muscle going into this season. He has to prove something to the world this year, and I think he's definitely going to do that. My concern is that Derek Carr is going to have to be running for his life. And regardless of how good Darren Waller is, and regardless of how good I believe Henry Ruggs is going to be this season, it's going to be difficult to do anything without an O-line. So I still think that the talent's enough to get them 7 wins. The coaching is just Gruden's done nothing for me this far. Putting a team together, 1, calling plays, 2, for me to think that he could put together a winning a winning team together. So I feel like 7-10, that is more than respectable. But I don't see anything happening with this team at all.
Gruden to me is fine. I think the problem that I have with the Raiders is their decision making. Mike Mayock has not been great at drafting players, and it's probably been a team unit between Gruden and Mayock. They have not been great at drafting players. Damon Arnett, Trayvon Mullen. Those were supposed to be the 2 guys at corner, and they have not impressed thus far.
Yep.
And then, John Gruden getting to Oakland, trading away Amari Cooper, trading away Khalil Mack. First year of the trade, when Khalil Mack was traded, you got Josh Jacobs. They drafted Jonathan Abram with the pick, I believe. It looked to be going in a good direction, and now hindsight is 2020. You're like, wow, you probably should never traded them. Las Vegas called Chicago to ask for Khalil Mack.
That's crazy.
And you decided to trade him away. So the decision making for me is a bit bizarre. You call me foolish, but I actually am higher on Las Vegas's offensive line than most.
Okay.
Even though they lost Gabe Jackson and Trent Brown, I think Gabe Jackson wasn't that big of a loss. I think Trent Brown was a bigger one. But if Alex Leatherwood is as good as advertised as he's been looking so far, I think they'll be fine. Rodney Hudson, to me, was the big loss.
Me too.
It was the big loss. It was the guy at center in the middle. But looking and reading a lot of forums on the Raiders, they have said that he hasn't been playing so great as of recently. Even though PFF has consistently ranked him as a top center in the NFL, who knows? I'm higher on their offensive line than most. I am not high on their defense, though. That's really what I'm not sold on. Casey Hayward Jr. last year was bad. He was horrendous. And he's under the same defensive scheme, under the same coach with Gus Bradley. Do I think he'll have a bounce-back season? I wouldn't bank on it. Trayvon Mullen, Damon Arnett haven't impressed me. Jonathan Abrams brings energy, but lacks a lot of other things.
For sure.
And Trayvon Merrick, I like a lot, but I think he's more of a cover guy. I don't view him as somebody who's going to help so much in the run game. Raiders fans are high on Yannick Ngakoue. I'm not. Jacksonville got rid of him. Minnesota got rid of him. Baltimore got rid of him. It's obviously not a team thing. I mean, all these teams are saying, we don't want Yannick. And Minnesota had an edge rusher problem and still didn't take him. Max Crosby, I like Cullen Farrell is a good run stopper.
Agreed.
But then when you look at the linebackers, Corey Littleton last year had such a horrendous season. Does that change this year in a similar scheme? I don't really think it does, and that's why I'm not sold on the Raiders. Their offense, I think, will be a top 15 offense in the NFL. It has potential to be a top 10, but I think they'll be similar to what Minnesota was last year in the fact that they'll be great offensively, but defensively they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and you can't win that way. That's why I have them at 6-11. I did have them at 4-13 at first, but I said that may be a bit too harsh. I'm going to have them at 6-11. Let me go through their schedule. Week 1 versus Baltimore.
Loss.
At Pittsburgh.
Loss.
Versus Miami.
Loss.
At Los Angeles Chargers.
Loss.
Versus the Bears.
Win.
W.
At Denver.
Loss.
Versus Philly.
Win.
W.
At the Giants.
Loss.
Loss.
Yeah.
Versus the Chiefs.
Loss.
Versus the Bengals.
Loss.
Loss.
At Dallas.
Loss.
Versus Washington.
Loss.
At Kansas City.
Loss.
At Cleveland.
Loss.
Versus Denver.
Loss.
Versus, I'll give him 1.
At Indianapolis.
Loss.
Versus the Chargers.
I'll give him 1.
So that's about like 5 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 wins.
The one that Bengals is going to be a good game. Giants is going to be a good game. Those are the two.
So?
Yeah, I do think so.
I
I think the Giants are going to be solid this year too, but I just think
I think that's an easy win for the Giants.
easy, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe.
Giants are a really good team.
It's just that Las Vegas,
It's hard.
they surprise. There's some weren't they the first team to beat the Steelers last year?
They were.
Washington was.
No, I
Okay.
thought it was,
Or Cincinnati
Raiders.
was.
I thought it was the
It was
Raiders, but I
Washington or
could be wrong.
Cincinnati.